9th century China. A group of monks are trying to live forever, not fighting wars, not building weapons, chasing immortality. They mix minerals together, following ancient medicinal recipes. One particular batch combines 3 very specific ingredients, and instead of eternal life, it does something else entirely. It explodes, right in their faces, literally. Historical records mention burned beards and collapsed workshops. Nobody in that room was trying to invent a weapon. They named it fire medicine, a failed pharmaceutical, basically. That failed medicine became history's most consequential discovery. At first, it isn't used for war. It's entertainment, fireworks, festivals, religious ceremonies. Explosions become part of celebration before they become part of battle. Here's why it works. Saltpeter carries oxygen inside its crystals. Charcoal desperately wants that oxygen. Sulfur helps the reaction happen even faster. The reaction happens almost instantly. Solid powder suddenly becomes enormous volumes of hot gas. That expanding gas creates pressure powerful enough to launch almost anything. Eventually, somebody has an obvious idea. What if we point this explosion at someone else? The first answer is the fire lance, a bamboo tube tied to the end of a spear. It shoots fire, sparks, and whatever debris happens to be inside. Soon, people realize they can deliberately load projectiles. Instead of random debris, they use metal balls. Then bamboo becomes bronze. Now the barrel can survive much larger explosions. Gunpowder has officially entered warfare. Its first major job is defending cities. The weapon is crude, loud, and terrifying. Sometimes the noise is almost as effective as the projectile. Sieges begin to change, and then the secret starts traveling. The Mongols help spread it farther than anyone else. Their empire connects east and west. Ideas travel with merchants, engineers, and armies. Eventually, gunpowder reaches Europe, and that's where development accelerates. Europe builds bigger guns, much bigger, powerful enough to smash castle walls. Walls that stood for centuries suddenly become vulnerable. Castle design changes forever. The age of the knight begins to fade. Expensive armor can no longer guarantee survival. Disciplined infantry becomes more valuable than elite warriors. One invention reshapes military history for centuries, all because someone was trying to make people live forever. One accidental discovery, 2 completely separate technological futures. The story keeps getting bigger. The story keeps getting bigger. Trade routes stretch the technology across continents. Ideas spread just as quickly as armies. Long before anyone had coined the word globalization, European cannon designs closely resembled their Chinese counterparts. And once it landed in Europe, everything started changing fast. Early European hand cannons were crude, slow, and imprecise. Light a touch hole and hope for the best, essentially. Even so, castle walls that stood for centuries began falling. Armored knights, once untouchable, became increasingly vulnerable too. A cheap weapon could now neutralize a lifetime of training. The entire military order built around armored cavalry wobbled. One invention, quietly dismantling a centuries-old social system. Even castle architecture itself had to completely reinvent itself. Tall, thin walls became instant, obsolete cannon targets. Engineers designed low-angled forts built to deflect fire instead. An entire architectural tradition, rewritten by one weapon. But firing that weapon was still painfully, dangerously slow. The matchlock mechanism finally solved that exact problem. Pulling the trigger lowered a burning cord automatically. For the first time, a soldier could actually aim properly. The design spread rapidly across Western Europe within decades. The Ottoman Empire armed its elite corps with the same design. Portuguese traders introduced it to Japan in the 1540s. Japanese gunsmiths refined it into some of the finest examples anywhere. China itself later reabsorbed an improved version of its own invention. A genuinely strange, fitting loop for where this all began. But the matchlock still had one obvious, glaring weakness. It needed an open flame, constantly, no matter the weather. The wheel lock replaced that flame with a spinning spark wheel. Cavalry loved it. No flame to manage while on horseback, but it was expensive, complex, and never fully replaced the original. The flintlock arrived next, and finally solved it properly. Faster, weatherproof, no flame required at all anymore. Within decades, it dominated nearly every major European military. It held that position for almost 2 full centuries straight. Around the same time, a new bayonet design changed everything again. Now a soldier could fire and still fight with a blade attached. Dedicated pikemen were suddenly no longer even necessary. One weapon, finally doing every job a battlefield required. 2 centuries later, the percussion cap ended the flintlock era. A tiny chemical cap replaced flint, steel, and loose powder entirely. From there, everything accelerated toward the modern firearm. Let's zoom all the way back out for a moment. A failed immortality potion, a singed beard, centuries of tinkering. Nobody involved ever set out to invent a weapon at all. Monks, engineers, conquerors, and craftsmen, each adding one small piece. History's most consequential weapon began as an honest mistake. See you in the next one.